And if he was born in other plane, nothing to remember about past life, just like we pass from that past life to be born in this life, exactly the same. For those who had some relation with us in different manners, might think of us in different ways, but nothing to do at all, just thinking. And when it's akusala, it hurts oneself. And when it's kusala, enjoy what that person has done and where was he now, and where is he now? Maybe more happy plane, we don't know. No COVID. See? Very, very simple, very ordinary when there's the understanding of no one there at all. So the understanding of no one is so very true that it should be developed to understand the truth of it. Little by little, like now at this moment. Right understanding the truth of this very moment, which thinks about the other, to understand that actually not me, no me, and no me means never been me at all. They are only different realities arising by conditions. And one day, everyone has to be that very moment ends up this life, never to remember what was done in this life before. For example, yesterday and the day after, before yesterday, who knows? All forgotten, just to be forgotten from life to life. So this moment is the most important moment to understand the truth. And the truth is so very subtle, even it's there now appearing, but no understanding of the truth of it. Actually, it's conditioned to think about this and that, to condition such and such feeling and idea, thinking all the time. That's all. The thought about him was gone completely. And now it's the seeing and the hearing and other thinking of other things. This is as it is from moment to moment by conditions. So the truth of no thing and no I, how long will it develop to understand our reality now, that it's there now, but in truth, it's not there anymore. And this is so true that it can be realized by developing right understanding of letting go the object which appears now as no one and no thing at all, not as it appears as we take it for something, but in truth, it's gone from moment to moment. That's why the path is so very subtle to understand the absolute truth. No thing, no me. See, what is me, it's gone. Seeing gone, hearing gone, thinking gone. No me, no other people or person too, because actually they are only what they are as different realities arising together and falling away together, unknown. Only one can be known now at a time that is there to be studied, to understand the truth of it, but not by intention. Try so hard to realize that it's impossible, but it's the understanding only, little by little, to let go what we take for something all the time, from life to life and on and on and on. But in truth, in the absolute, just develop firm confidence of no I, no one, until it's so natural, because there cannot be the moment of realization of that which arises and falls away as no one at all. But even it's true, it has to be understood at moment when it's there. And no one study, only hearing and considering what is there, little by little as it is. Just remember or not forget that what can be known is only that which is now appearing. And what is there appearing now is not known, because not enough right understanding of it, but learn from the very beginning. It's there to be known because it's so true. And the truth is that whether it is the reality which can experience or it is as it is, only light, color, smell, taste, and hardness and softness in a day, all that. 7 rupas appearing from moment to moment, and there is thinking about them as something and cling to whatever is there as something and I. The experiences is I, no matter is the feeling or memory or like or dislike. Just only when it appears so very short moment and then gone unknown. This is the absolute truth. No one can change, but right understanding begins to develop. It's now appearing and it's gone. No one and no thing. But it is not just thinking, no one and no me and no thing, but the moment of understanding the truth of it is the beginning of the development of no one and no thing, because it's not just thinking, no one and no me, but it is moment of developing understanding that the truth is there. That's why it's so very subtle to get closer to its truth as that which appears and then disappears. That's why it takes quite a long time with firm confidence of the truth. That is the best thing in samsara, to understand what is there now. It's true at moment when it appears and then gone. So only right understanding of the truth, listening, and then considering, and then having more confidence of the truth by its nature, by the nature of understanding, by the nature of other wholesome realities arising together. See, that's why we learn to understand what is there now. Just not to forget that the truth is there, which is so very subtle. And no one can make anything which has gone to arise again at all. That's why no one, no person, no kunjaran anymore. Only this life as he was taken for kunjaran and then another life. Now, not kunjaran anymore, but what is the person comes from what has been done in the past. That's all. So now we are on the way to the future, and this will be the past when that happens. When one dies, that is conditioned to be born as not this person anymore. And what has been accumulated, conditions such and such, events or happenings in that life, on and on until the end, and then begin again by conditions. But Paticca Samuppada, avijja now, not understanding the truth, condition kusala kamma or akusala kamma, and the kusala kamma and akusala kamma in this life, which will be the past, condition the next life, which will be the present one. And this one is the past, all gone. Paticca Samuppada, condition the reality which experiences the chief of experience and object. But at that moment, the object does not appear. That's why we learn to understand the truth. Actually, even right now, no one at all. When there is the understanding of what we learn as citta or cittasika or rupa, but it's not just the word, it's the truth, and it can be known one at a time, but by conditions. No expect at all, no expectation, see? Otherwise, it cannot show up as all dhammas are anatta. Even thinking right now, why does this person think this way and the other think the other way? By conditions, no one there at all. That's why there can be more metta, be friendly to anyone, no matter who that person is. And Because of understanding the truth, one would like, or one has conditioned to share the truth to the others because it's the best thing in samsara. Just to understand even a little bit of that which is now appearing, that is conditioned. No one can make it arise. The seeing, the hearing, the thinking right now, as it is, by conditions. That's why it's the best thing in samsara to understand the truth, because the truth is the truth. What is there is conditioned to arise and then falls away instantly, no matter what kind of citta, the birth consciousness or the death consciousness or the pavanga, or the seeing, the hearing, and the thinking, all are dhammas. And right understanding works its way from right path. It keeps on understanding what is there in life, stage by condition. Even it's not the very keen understanding of that which appears at moment when it arises and falls away, but it's so firm to understand that it is that which is so true. The other moment is not as true as this very moment, because it's not here and now and there. See, that's why thinking can think about anything, but thinking is not I, it's not anyone at all. Only a moment of conditioned by accumulation to think this or that in different ways or manners. That's all. And they are all gone. See, so it's time to develop the understanding of the truth by conditions, to have moments of thinking about it as a reality, no matter what is there, hardness or sound or sorrow or life or dislike, whatever is there can be object of right understanding by conditions until everything pops up by conditions. No one there at all. And it's now or at any moment in any life. The truth is just what we have heard from the words of the Buddha, who has come to understand what is there now as it is. Quite a long journey, but now one is on the way. The journey is so long, but right understanding keeps on the right track. It is now appearing, and it's so true that what sees is just the reality which can experience that by conditions. No one can stop the reality which experiences an object to arise. No one can stop when it's gone. It has to be gone. Nothing all the time. Only thinking and memory is there. That's why there is sanya vipalasa. See, the sanya takes it for something, not as it's really true, because of ignorance. That's why when there is ignorance and the understanding of no self, there is less attachment to self, to oneself, and understand the truth of what is wholesome or what is unwholesome. And only Panya can let go the unwholesome moment. That's why right now, only Panya can let go the what is there now as akusala. The other reality cannot perform the function of right understanding at all. That's why there are moments of akusala more than moments of kusala. But when the panya develops enough, so strong, nothing can win or nothing can conquer it at all. Panya is the conqueror because it can understand what is there as it is. No one, nothing. No me, no kunjaran, no one at all. Only the flux of what is conditioned to arise and fall away in split seconds covers up the truth. So in order to understand this real moment as it is, it's not by intention, but only by conditions, the accumulation of right understanding, little by little, to understand. And now it performs its function. No one there at all. Understanding the truth, little by little, condition, more accumulation of understanding, to condition moment of direct understanding when there is direct awareness of an object. Very natural. Anatta. Anatta appears to Panya more and more and more and more until there is the firm confidence of anatta. But only when right understanding understands what is there, little by little, by way of intellectual understanding, pariyatti, and without pariyatti, there cannot be the moment of understanding directly of what is there now. Only one, just only one. Otherwise, it's not clear comprehension of that reality as it is. For example, no one, it means that no eyes, no ears, no body, no thing at all. Only a reality appears by conditions. Who knows what will be the next moment? But there are conditions for moments after this moment to arise. So no expectation, no thought about it should be there or it could be there. No, at all. It's impossible to even just guessing or thinking of that because it's just thinking. But conditions are not thinking. Condition, what is there as it is right now, all the time. There must be conditions. That's why Buddha showed us what are conditions for such and such reality, because no reality cannot arise without conditions. But when there's no conditions at all, completely eradicated, nothing can arise anymore. And this is the truth of whatever is there, anytime, whatever it is. 6 doorways. So it takes quite a long, long time. Khanti Parami, Virya Parami, and Satya Parami, and Didana Parami, and Nekama Parami. Also Dana and Sila and Metta in the day. Develop little by little. No matter what events, pleasant or unpleasant, they are just different dhammas. And when memory, sanya, remembers the truth of reality, there can be condition of even thinking about the truth, no matter in what situation. It saves one from being akusala. Less moment of kusala. But when we use the term less moment, it's quite very, very, very little. Because there are conditions for many, many moments of akusala. That's why now we are against the current of akusala, of ignorance, to understand the truth of what is there now, which is so very subtle. But no matter how much subtle it is, there can be virya and khanti to listen, to understand. And at moment of understanding, it let go ignorance and attachment. So there can be a moment of beginning to understand, the moment of being aware with understanding, of that which is there, not as Chitta and Chetasika, the name and on, but not me and not I, because it is hard, because it is that which just arises to experience hardness, or seeing right now, or hearing right now. There must be the reality which is hidden even right now. It arises to experience what is there now, one moment at a time, one object at a time. And this is the way to let go, the subtle way to let go. Otherwise, it's there by more attachment to whatever, as it can be object, to be proud of this and that, knowledge or speech or whatever is there. They're all there by conditions. That's why Panya has to be wise enough to understand the truth of not me or anyone at all. Next life, can there be any moment of remembering Kuncharan? Next life. It's just like, can anyone remember what were there in the past life? Impossible. But thinking is conditioned. Even not thinking of names and story. It thinks about shape and form at moment of seeing already. That's why if there's no understanding of the reality which arises to experience, it is a nature of a reality. No one can change. It's there by conditions. That's why no thought about I'll try to change or try to find out what is there, because they're all gone. And there's no understanding of that which is now appearing. So how can there be letting go of the idea of self? But at moment of listening and understanding, it develops little by little, until in a day, who knows, there can be a moment of direct awareness with understanding of that particular object, unknown now, by conditions. And this is the way to let go, the clinging to the idea of self or things, very subtle, because no one can do or no one is doing it, but the understanding arising, performing its function from moment to moment, comparing to ignorance in the samsara, how long it takes. So how long it will take for right understanding to understand whatever is there now, which is covered up eons and years ago, that its truth is that it arises by conditions and then gone instantly all the time. That's right. Nothing to do. Understanding, hearing, gone. All right. What is there? By conditions, whatever arises to be attached to it or to think about it or just no idea about it at all. What is there so true? Even ignorance is so true. Attachment to that which appears is so very subtle too. Who knows? As soon as it appears as the object, attachment is there to that which appears. Otherwise, how can it be? Right understanding of that without hearing about the truth of it. To let go. Even to let go, it's not I or anyone. It's the function of right understanding only, which no one can think about that moment. Even the name, it's not me, it's right understanding. But the I is there as long as there is no understanding of that very moment as it is, not as I know, I understand. That's why when we talk about any reality, there can be more understanding of the truth of it, little by little. For example, seeing a moment only, but what appears is the world of nimitta, never to understand the truth by oneself because it is a function of right understanding only. That's why the best moment in life is moment of understanding the truth, to implant the firm confidence of no one and nothing from life to life, from moment to moment. And if Kunjaran is now can hear what we're talking, he might appreciate Kusala moment. That's the best thing for the one who passed away. Since we don't know where he's now and he's not Kunjaran anymore, so we can do the Kusala and extend the merit. That's all for him to be known about the Kusala and appreciate it. If he does not appreciate, it's one's own Kusala. Not belong to me, only a moment of Kusala. Let go is letting go what is there in life too. Because otherwise, when we talk about letting go, without understanding what is there in life, what does it mean? Because each moment in life is object of clinging. So in order to have no more of akusala, it has to be understanding of what is taken for self with ignorance because of understanding what is there in life each moment. So letting go, that's not letting go at the moment. It's now letting go little by little at moment of understanding. So natural, so common. That's why when there's time, there can be a moment of thinking about what is heard, and there can be a moment of reading, and can there be a moment of talking about Dhamma by conditions. So not other moment can be the moment of understanding, only now. And no one can force to understand what is there as one has heard, but it develops little by little.
And sometimes it's easy for anyone to think they may have heard enough, but actually it's never enough because, as you say, there's so much akusala accumulated, and usually there's thinking about objects of attachment or objects of sorrow and grief or what has happened in the past or what may occur. So without the careful considering and the reminders and the reflection about this moment, and especially about how dhammas are anatta, no one there, no one who passed away, no one who will ever be there. It's so easy to forget because of sanya vipalasa, as you mentioned, always remembering what is not about the truth of this moment. So it's so fortunate to have the opportunity to share and reflect and remember, not to distress about what's gone or be concerned about what will come, but to appreciate the value of just understanding the truth of life at this very moment, no matter what comes.
Yeah, John, thank you so much for that, for those wise words. And I appreciate you too, you know, the way you continually are there for us, helping us to understand the Dhamma more with better understanding. You know, I'm very, very much appreciative of it. And you reminded me too that, so what you're saying is that it's no use to shoot ourselves with the arrow of grief. It's much more helpful to develop kusala at whatever level, ideally at the level of understanding. So it was a wonderful reminder, Tanajan, about how valuable development of understanding, having good Dhamma friends are. It's such a benefit to be around such wise people, Tanajan. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the kusala moment, your kusala moment very much. Anytime.
Tanajan, I appreciate that. I think, well, we all think you're amazing, Tanajan. What I would like to, I've got a question here. I was going to leave it till a bit later, but seeing it's on my mind, I'd like you to perhaps explain it to me a little bit better. I've been looking at this, spending a bit of time with Ayuhana, and I'll get back to the others about that eventually. But in the Visuddhimagga, there's a comment which says it is the volition or chaitana that is the accumulation, ayuhana, in 6 of the impulsions, jawanesu, of a single adverting, which is adverting, that is called formations or sankhara. But the 7th volition is called becoming. Now, I found that a little bit confusing because I thought all of the 7 jhanas would be ayuhana. But here it says 6 of the 7 are ayuhana, and the 7th is called bhavo. So the 7th, so that seems to be saying that the 7th jhana is not ayuhana or sankhara. Is that, how do you understand that, Ajahn, that when they say that the 7th jhana is becoming, and they seem to be saying, although that may not be so, they seem to be saying that the 7th is bhava and it's not ayuhana. Do you understand my question, Tana Jankap?
Yes. And Chetana, the Kamma, when it has done, can condition results.
True, Kap.
But the first jhavana can condition result only in this life, not other life, because
True.
It's not as strong as the other one.
True, Tana Jan.
That's why among the 7, the first one can condition the result in this life only. It's not strong to condition the result in next life or other life. So ayuhana, when it has conditioned its result already, or if not, it's the function of other jhavana, because it gets stronger and stronger.
Yeah, of course. That's I understand that now. I understand it, Jana. It's much clearer now. So the first one is Intl.Dhamma Vedaniya Kamma. That's the result that can appear in this life, and the next ones from 2 to number 6. I think they're called results that can take place at Aparaparajaniya Kamma any time during samsara, and the 7th one can bring result in the next life. But can we say though still, Tanajan, that all those 7 chaitana are ayuhana? Can we say that, or can we not say that?
In particular or in general?
In general.
So in general, Chetana is the Dhamma, and what has been done can be the Ayuhana, the collection of that to be conditions for what happening in such and such life.
Right, Tanajan. Okay, no, that's much clearer, Tanajan. It's not a vital point, but I can see the connection you are making now. That's very helpful. Thank you, Tanajan.
But at the moment when you stand, no thought about from what life, or from what Chittavana, just to understand how Dhamma works. No one can change or change it at all. That's all. To have more confidence of the truth. Actually, they are only Dhammas, no one at all. Chitta and Cetasika is Cetasika. Rupa is Rupa. More confidence of no I at all. The details is taught in order to be conditioned for understanding to develop.
I have a quick question on this topic since Sundara has brought it up, Ajahn. If we were to ask what is the ultimate reality, which is to which the term Ayuhana refers, would the answer be Chetana?
Yes, because
of course.
Yeah. What is the Dhamma?
Right, is Chetana. Yeah. Because sometimes, well, in this particular passage that Sundara has drawn to our attention, it mentions the 5 things, and it mentions both Ayuhana and volition.
Yes.
There's a bit of duplication there.
I don't know if that's so true. I mean, they're saying it's the same thing. Perhaps because it's. I've spent a bit of time with this one. I'm going to see it write a decent sort of email, because I think there's been some degree of what could be called conflation. But I'd like to speak to that another time. I will be speaking to that. So Ayuhana is definitely referring to Chaitana, and sometimes, as it says there in that one there, that it is the volition, Chaitana, that is accumulation, Ayuhana. And 6, well, Ajahn has differentiated there between the next life, but it's still, and generally speaking, we can say it's to do with accumulation. And I think we can say that they're synonymous terms, Ayuhana, Sankara, Chaitana, Chaitana, Cetasika. And as Ajahn pointed out just recently too, Chaitana, and that says we know it has different functions, or at least 2 functions, but it's Abhisankara when it's Ayuhana. It has a slightly different term for it. As has the word Sankara, as Tanajan pointed out recently too. Sankara, can refer to all conditioned Dhammas. It can refer to Abhisankara. It can refer to. It depends on the context. But in the context of Ayuhana, Ayuhana is Sankara, referring to the volition, or Abhisankara, which is kind of pointing to the explicit nature of Chaitana by way of kusala, akusala, or aninja, or aninjabi Sankara. They're all kind of tied up together with Ayuhana in that respect. It's my understanding so far. As I said, I've been thinking about this matter, and I do think, I'll leave it at that for the time being.
And I think with regard to your question, Sundara, so the Abhisankara refers to the past karma, the Chaitana, the Ayuhana that can bring results in this lifetime. So because one of them can only bring results in the present lifetime, so it's referring to 6 kinds of jhavanas that can bring results in the present life that's why I think 6 are referred. So it doesn't mean the 7th is just referring to the last one, but it's just referring to how 6 out of the 7 are abhisankara that can bring results in this life from the past.
Okay, thanks for that. Well, I'm not too so sure if that's so if that is so, because if the 6 in the because it says in the it is the volition that is the accumulation ayuhana, and 6 of the impulsion. So that's talking about the accumulated tendencies to bring results at any time, not necessarily just in this life, but at any time in samsara. I think Ajahn pointed out to me there that the 7th one, though, although that would still be classified, generally speaking, as Ajahn seemed to have said, with ayuhana, but there, in that case, just to further clarify, it can be referring to the next life. It can bring results in the next life, where the other ones, all the 6 previous, or the first one only just in this life, and other ones at any time during samsara. So I don't think we can say it's just this life, because
the point is the context is referring to ayuhana, and the context is referring to the abhisankara in paticca samuppada, and there it's referring to any past karma that has been accumulated and collected by the patisandhi, and which can bring the sankhara from the past that can bring results just in this lifetime. So this is referring to those past karmas, which could have been in any of 6 of those javana chittas in the past, that are abhisankara that can bring results in this lifetime. That's what the ayuhana is referring to, not about other lifetimes, but about this particular lifetime with any karma from any time in the past. Could be aeons ago or last life, any time at all, but it's referring to that karma which can bring results during this particular lifetime.
I don't know if that's so true, Sarah. I don't know if that's true at all, actually, because I've been doing a lot of reading in this area. I'm putting together an email about it. The accumulations there, in this case, seems to be, as Ajahn pointed out, refers to the results that it can happen at any time samsara, the number from 2 to 6. The first one, just Dhamma Vedaniya Kamma, can bring results in this life. The number 2 through to 6 can bring results at any time during samsara.
Yes, they can bring results at any time during lives in samsara, but when it's referring to the second link in paticca samuppada, the abhisankara, punya ninja, abhisankara, it's then referring to the karma, the ayuhana, which at birth can only bring results in this lifetime by way of birth and other vipaka during this lifetime. It doesn't mean at the end of this lifetime that those other past karmas cannot bring results in other lifetimes, but that's the point of ayuhana, is referring to the karma that can bring results during this particular lifetime. That's the point of the ayuhana that is stressed.
You seem to be saying something different there to me, Sarah, than what you said initially, because yes, certainly Chaitana, by way of abhisankara and by way of ayuhana, will be a condition for patisandhi. There's no question about that. That's self-evident. But what has been talked about before, I'm not entirely in agreement about that it refers to this kind of scooping up and allowing it. This is not ayuhana. Ayuhana specifically deals with accumulations that have, by way of sankhara, not sankhara kanda, by way of abhisankara, which have been accumulated over millions of lifetimes. And this is very evident in different suttas. This is very evident in different suttas. Not this idea of scooping up has been alluded to. This is my understanding is that it's not to do with ayuhana. Yes, of course, there will be there will be, obviously, by way of accumulations, an inevitable result for that when there is still ignorance, as has been pointed out in different suttas. But it's nothing to do, as I understand it at this point, with this kind of scooping up business that has been alluded to and has been spoken about earlier. This is nothing what my reading of the Dhamma alludes to. And that question that I just asked this morning was a little bit unclear. But as Ajahn said, the seventh one, which is the second weakest one, will bring result in this life. But it's still referring to ayuhana, generally speaking. But specifically,
there's two different points. There's one point which is when different jhāvana citas can bring results. So whether it's at any time or just in this life or just in the life afterwards, that's one point. And another point is what ayuhana is referring to. And in Paticca Samuppada, the third link, the birth, refers to the vijnana, refers to the patisandhi and the vipaka citas just in this lifetime, conditioned by the abhisankara. And the ayuhana refers to the karma, which at birth in this lifetime can bring results during this lifetime. So the two different.
I don't know about that bit, Sarah, that can bring results.
Let's let Ajahn say more about.
Well, okay. I think we've talked about it probably enough, and Ajahn has probably been maybe talked to. It's certainly, as of course, she can be, but there seems to be a conflation here, what I've understood about this nature of ayuhana. It's not the scooping up. Ayuhana essentially means accumulations, accumulated sankharas over many lifetimes that can bring result, obviously, by way of vipaka, by way of patisandhi at a particular moment. That is what ayuhana is. And there are at least two suttas that I've looked at recently that allude to this specifically, not to this at a particular time, because ayuhana can bring results, obviously, by way of
a particular lifetime during
birth
and during a particular.
Of course, it must at a particular lifetime. It must. I mean, that's just the nature of it. It's the nature of accumulations. They can bring results at any particular lifetime. But ayuhana essentially relates to abhisankara, to accumulated tendencies that obviously will bring results. And I just still think there has been a conflation of the term. There's been a conflation fusing together the concept of ayuhana with this bringing a result in a particular way, like it doesn't bring results, like what has been spoken about before is this idea that you can't, if you're a dewa, you can't get burnt alive. Well, that's pretty obvious. It's true. That's just its nature of things. That is not to do with ayuhana. And this concept of certain lives bringing certain results, that does not fit in as I read the Dhamma, as I read it through the Vibhanga. I've looked at obviously the Visuddhimagga, I've looked at Sutta Nipata, I've looked at Samyutta Nikaya, and there's by way of commentary as well. And there's nothing, this idea of scooping up does not come into it. Yes, certainly there will be certain results will happen because of, by way of abhisankara, certain results will happen by way of chaitana or ayuhana, whatever word you like to use, because many of these words are synonymous, virtually synonymous. But this idea of it'll only bring what has been brought into this idea that you cannot experience the result of a dewa if you're a human being. Well, that's self-evident, but that's not to do with ayuhana. This is my point. The point that has been.
Let's talk about this life. So this particular life, the patisandhi, which was the result of karma. At that moment, the karma from the past and all other karmas that could possibly bring results during this lifetime. So at the moment of birth, all those karmas that can bring results during this lifetime, that is the ayuhana that can bring results just in this lifetime is what is being discussed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mean totally. There can't be results later, but this is what is referred to there.
But you're saying something different there, Sarah, to what you said before.
No,
And what
it's
you said-
exactly the
and what you
same.
said
It's what I've
earlier.
always said. If you go back
No,
to it.
I don't agree with that. What you said earlier is very different from what you've just said then. But if you like, we can leave it now. But what you've said in the past has been a conflated version of in my view, of the idea of a yuhana. I understand a yuhana to be accumulations that can bring result at this particular birth or at any time in samsara, not this idea of like you can't get burned, in this particular life, as was been discussed before, that you can get, obviously you can't get certain results in a Brahmaloka that you'll get in a human plane. Yeah, that's another matter. That's obvious. That's true. If you're born a human being, well, you can't experience the results that a Dewa can experience. But that's not to do with, in a way, it's connected with a yuhana, but it's not a yuhana. And that's what has been implied in our earlier discussions. And I don't think that's in accordance with the Dhamma.
But
John, would you
anyway,
like-
we're in agreement that the term ayuhana refers to karma that can bring result in the present lifetime.
Absolutely. And I think it's been, as I said, conflated with this other concept of, being results. If you're a Dewa or whatever, in a particular plane, you can't experience. So that's nothing to do with ayuhana, as I understand, if I've read according to text.
Only it's connected in the sense that
yes,
if we're talking about karma that can bring result in the present lifetime, it may
Totally.
exclude some karma that would be more likely to bring a result in a different lifetime.
That's true. Oh yeah, but that's Jonathan.
So,
that's
anyway. Well, I think the past is the past, and we all agree now, regardless of what might have been the case or how it was understood. I think we all agree on the meaning of ayuhana.
John, is there anything else you would like to add on this topic?
There is seeing right now. Can anyone know what condition is seeing right now? It is vipaka, but who knows what condition it to be this very moment of seeing what is there. Even just to know that it's vipaka, without the teachings of the Buddha, who knows the difference between different reality that can experience an object. That's why from the very beginning, if there's the understanding of no understanding of the truth of reality, which is now appearing at all. That's why we learn about what is it, not self. So it is that which experiences an object. And we learn more that no one can condition it to arise at all, but there must be conditions for its arising. So Buddha taught about what condition different moments as different ones. Seeing, hearing, smelling, different objects. There must be conditions, that's all. That's why learn to understand the truth that actually what is not known now is the characteristic which cannot be taken for anyone because it just arises to be that which experiences now. That's all. This is the beginning to understand the truth. Otherwise, we think about the story of what is there as this and that. But what is the truth is what is now appearing is gone, unknown. And it can be known, it can be realized to have more confidence of no I until your right understanding is sharp enough keen enough to let go what is there as I, seeing, hearing, thinking, smelling, tasting, touching, like this I. See, this is the point of understanding this very moment. Understanding this very moment doesn't mean understanding the story of it, but understanding the truth now, that which experiences arises to experience, not me or anyone at all. And it cannot experience other thing because at that very moment, it just experiences that which is the object only. That's all, to understand what is there in life. And since their clinging to that is so very strong, just hearing about Dhamma, only very few, very little, is not enough. That's why we learn more to understand what is there in life. For example, right now, if we understand a lot and not understand and no understanding of that which is now appearing, what's the use of thinking and hearing and considering what is there as from book? But now the characteristic which experiences that which is seen or heard or touched hasn't developed to understand the truth of it, that they are different moments. And the point of studying the teachings is to understand the truth of that which is now appearing. Otherwise, it's gone without any understanding of its truth at all. That's why just understanding the two characteristics, not yet about whether it is citta or cetasika, even they are different by its characteristic, not by the word, but by its characteristic. For example, citta. If we haven't heard this word before, but there is that which experiences an object, learn to understand the truth of what is there. But because the truth is covered up, because of the rapidity of the arising and falling away of what is there now, that's why when we repeat the word now, it means it's there now, unknown, until hearing more about it and understand the reality which experiences the object, no matter what. But no one has any thought about it at all. Just thinking about that which appears as things and sound and like and dislike because they appear. But what about the understanding of that? Like is a reality different from dislike. Another reality, no one, but it's me all the time. And the point is that the truth is that there's no I at all, no one at all. Learn to understand reality as it's no one and nothing at all, in order to get closer and closer to understand what is there now, which appears. Without that which experiences, that object cannot appear at all, no matter what, from birth to death. That's why just learn to understand what is there with the understanding of its nature, why it is not I, because it arises to experience by conditions, and later learning more in order to understand more that it cannot be taken for thing or I, because it's conditioned by what and what and what. That's why Buddha taught about conditions, conditionality of what is there as it is. As much as anyone can understand the truth of that which appears. But if we think a lot about the words and the terms and the context, it cannot condition moment of understanding what is there as it is. It's only thinking about. At moment of seeing, it's what ayurveda or what vipaka or what. That is the story. But the truth is that the characteristic which arises to experience an object is not known as it is. How many moments pass without knowing or understanding the truth of that? But no one can force the understanding to arise to understand, because even understanding depends on its conditions for its arising. That's why if we don't study carefully of just one word of a reality, it's impossible to let go the idea of something, because it is unknown from life to life, on and on, very thick, just living in darkness, no understanding of the truth of what is there at all. That's why we can understand some level of what Buddha taught, not all levels of Buddha taught. It depends on understanding. That's why even a Sotapanna is not as wise or understanding enough as Sakatagami, Anagami, and Arahata. Even a Sotapanna is not as so skillful and understanding the truth clear and more in like Sakatagami. And what does it mean? Even the understanding of that as it is completely, absolutely known, realized. But still, the conditions for akusala is strong enough not to let go the clinging to the sensuous object. See, that's why this is real life. And if that is not known at all, it's only just thinking about the Dhamma as thinking about anything. That's why different ones have different levels of understanding. Even Sotapanna have different understanding level too. Some is so skillful in this, and some is skillful in that, and some is not as skillful as the other at all. But the reality can be known, but by the accumulation of each different ones at that very moment. Sariputta and Mokkhalana and so on. That's why it depends on how can it be known. Even the truth is that Buddha was different from other person. No one can think or compare the understanding of Buddha to the other at all. Even Arahatas among them, they have different accumulation. That's why that is Sariputta. Sariputta could understand better than the other. Why? By accumulation. So they have time to talk on Dhamma, the Dhamma discussion, and it depends on how much understanding can be understood. That's all. For oneself, not for the other. So one can understand how much ignorance when we talk about the truth. And that is so very, very useful, very, very precious to understand the truth. Actually, the understanding of each person is so very little, but it can develop to the degree that it can understand directly of that which is now appearing. This is the first moment of understanding the difference between intellectual understanding and direct understanding with direct awareness. If not, there's not enough condition for that moment to arise at all. And when it is just the beginning of the direct understanding with direct awareness of a reality, that is not enough, never enough at all, because it's so much subtle than anyone can imagine. No one, see, what does it mean? It means that there cannot be anything at all to be taken for one as I or thing. And if it's not object of understanding right then, how can there be clear and firm confidence of the truth of no one and no thing? That's why just learn to understand that the right understanding can develop and can understand that as Buddha had taught only when there is the understanding of that object at moment of it's there, unknown, and now there is attention to that object to understand it. But by conditions, it cannot be understood instantly, directly yet. But since the understanding is that it is only the moment when it's there, can condition moment of understanding what is there little by little. But the clinging and the akusala, which has been accumulated, must be so great that few moments is there, not enough, until it develops on and on and on and on by conditions only. That's why it's so very subtle to understand whether what is there at such moment, ignorance and clinging on something one is thinking about. See, it's so very, very subtle that it has to be sappa parinya after the vipassana jnana. It means that the vipassana jnana, even such moment, has understood clearly the object as it is, but it's so little, not enough at all, because the accumulation of the idea of I and clinging to the other and to the things as we used to is so strong that it can condition other moment with attachment again and again. But right understanding has to develop on naturally by condition as sappa parinya. See, sappa means all, anything now. Right understanding has to develop to understand it. Otherwise, it cannot show up as it is clearer than that, stage by stage. That's why the understanding of this moment is very helpful. Otherwise, that can never be the understanding of the truth of that which appears as nimitta, but in truth, it's not there anymore. Just the arising and falling away of that which appears as the same one all the time. So we just talk about this moment again and again and again, not to get lost of ignorance and attachment of whatever is there at any moment. Thinking, liking, interested of something else, and so on.
Yes, sometimes we forget that the whole purpose of the Buddha's teachings is just for understanding life as it is at this very moment, no matter, as you said earlier, sad or sorrowful or angry or attached or seeing or hearing. It's just reality, and the truth has to come back to this very moment. Otherwise, all the study is completely useless if it doesn't bring any more understanding right now.
And at that moment when panya is there, it can see how much clinging to whatever is there. And ignorance is there too.
Right. Dhammas that are not self, that's the point. But if there's no understanding, it will never be known, and it has to only be now. Just on the, as you brought up the topic of sapaparinya, or the parinyas, which are the understandings, the realizations after the attainment of vipassana jnanas. And in the commentary, when it talks about Nata Parinya, Nyata Parinya, the first one, it refers to the defining of Nama Rupa, the full understanding of what has been known by Nama Rupa Paricheda Jnana. And the second one, the Kirana Parinya, they translate it as the understanding of scrutinization, but it refers to the understanding from the Kalapa Samasana, the understanding of groups, up to Anuloma, which is, I think, different from what we discussed before. So from the, after the third stage of insight, higher up. And then the last one, the Pahana Parinya, it refers to the knowledge of the Aryan path, the full understanding by abandoning at stages of enlightenment. Is that what you understood, Jan? Because I thought before we talked about the second one, the Tirana Parinya, as following the second to third stages of insight, but here it's referring to from the Samasana Jnana up into Analoma, and the Pahana Parinya just at stages of enlightenment.
It means that what we are talking about, the truth like it's now, arises in false way. It depends on the level of understanding, because when it's understood at level of intellectual understanding, the pariyatti, it means that it's not moment of understanding with direct awareness, right? And even it is the moment of direct awareness with understanding. The understanding is not like that which follow the after the Nama-rupa paricetayana.
Right. Yeah. So
that's why there is the moment of there is the word parinya after vipassana. It means that at moment of realize the truth as it is, no one, only nama arises, no thing, and that which is the object, which is not that which can experience anything at all. It depends on how long it is, how many objects are there. See, not all like now at all. It's just like from moment to moment, it's known directly as it is, but not enough, never enough, according to the accumulation of ignorance and attachment to the idea of self in samsara years and years ago. That's why only that cannot eradicate the idea of self at all. But how can it develop more? Because there must be condition for higher understanding of that. Because the arising and falling of the object which appears through the Nama-rupa paricetayana does not show up, because it's just the first time, a moment of realize the truth that is so true that actually there's no one, no thing at all. But the sanya, the vedana of that does not appear to be known. That's why from that realization of the truth at the very moment on, it's not forgotten, but it does not appear to be strong and firm. That's why there must be the parinya, sappha parinya of whatever is touched or seen or any one like or dislike. Who knows? The moment of anatta, there can be more understanding and firmer confidence of anatta. Otherwise, it goes wrong instantly, because there can be condition for akusala at any time as long as it's there, not eradicated yet. That's why it's not enough at all. That's why there has to be listening and considering and applying the understanding which has been experienced to whatever is there by conditions. This is the most important thing, not with
anyone applying just by conditions. Yeah.
Stage by stage. But it's different from just intellectual understanding, because the understanding of the moment of direct awareness is there as no I who can make it arise. But the condition is not strong enough. The understanding is not strong enough. It's not as the moment of vipassana jnana or anatta. That's why the understand more and clear about what is there, how much to be developed, not enough at all. And no conditions to be done at all, but it's by condition itself to be moment of direct awareness, and the understanding begins to apply what has been realized to what is there, but not as clear because it's not vipassana jnana. That's why it is parinya, the understanding, the knowledge from direct experience of that to apply to whatever is there by conditions. That's why it takes quite a long time, even as Sotapanna, to be Sakatagami, like Visakha, Nikaramata. See, who knows the conditions, but it's not wrong when it's right. That's why the parami to be accumulated, to understand that it's not me, but all depends on parami, the understanding with viriya, with khanti, and so on. This is the difference between interest understanding, pariyatti, and patipatti, and pativeta, and even pativeta. There are many degrees, and when it is the first, like nama, rupa, prichetayana, it hasn't been realized before that moment. But when it's there already, the realization is not forgotten, the truth that it has to be there. But what appears in daily life is not like that. That's why parinya, understanding that applies to whatever is there by conditions. For some, it takes many lives, and for some, it takes just in a moment or very soon. Who knows conditions? But the truth is the truth. The understanding is so very truthful. What level? It's not the moment of realization of the arising and falling away, because it's only the moment of the reality which is not self appears clearly as it is, no one and nothing. But after that, it's there again by memory, sanya, vipalasa, and so on. When akusala is there. That's why there can be the understanding of vipassana jnana and parinya, sappha parinya. Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of that any moment as not self. It has to be all akusala be eradicated stage by stage. Nothing is left, and it has to be daily life, because ignorance is there now in daily life, attachment is there now in daily life. Whatever is there is conditioned because of not enough understanding to let go and to understand more about a reality, unexpectedly what would be object.
Yeah, so when we're talking about the parinyas, it can't be as clear as vipassana jnana, but the understanding, the direct understanding, has to be much firmer than moments of satipatthana before vipassana jnana, and the understanding that is tirana parinya must be firmer than jnata parinya, the first one, because of what has been realized by the vipassana jnanas in between. And so the last one, the Pahana Parinya, of course, with abandoning, is stronger than the other one, the earlier ones, the earlier Parinyas. But it's all the development of Satipatthana, but the understanding has to be firm and firmer, stronger and stronger, understanding different realities, like you say, whatever appears in daily life, again and again.
Because akusala has to be completely eradicated.
And if it's not known when it appears now, it can never be understood, it can never be eradicated.
Ajahn, I want to ask you about the first vipassana jnana. I think I've read in Pitaka that it can arise more than once in samsara, but it's not while all the other vipassana jnanas only arise once in samsara? Is it so that the first vipassana jnana can arise more than once in samsara?
Yes, why not? By conditions.
Right. And the second vipassana jnana as well, or only the first?
Who can arrange?
Nobody.
Or who can do it? The idea of self has been gradually eliminated. And right understand truly, very truthful how much it is. Not yet this or not yet that, because in daily life there is still not enough understanding of that which appears as it is, because there are still conditions for akusala to arise. That's why it takes kanti so much, so great to be there, because it's so very subtle. In order to understand the subtlety of ignorance and attachment, otherwise it cannot be eliminated or completely eradicated. Is that the answer for your question?
Yes, thank you, John. Yes, so I thought, because I didn't know that, I thought would only be once. Thanks, John.
Because I cannot hear very well, but you see that anything can arise just to measure, just to be known how much understanding or how less ignorance and attachment to that particular object when it's there. Who knows what would be the next object at all? It can be so very calm, pleasant feeling, see, hasn't been arising. It hasn't been there at all before. But when it's there, without right understanding, there is doubt. And it can be completely eradicated at moment of sotapanna, makha, see. That's why the truth is the truth. The subtle doubt or attachment is there. When there is no understanding of that, there's nothing to let go, the clinging and the idea of something. Panya has to be panya only. It cannot be I or someone or something. Look at that very moment when it's panya. But depending on how strong it is, how firm it is, how keen it is, to be ready to understand what is there by conditions unknown before.
Alberto, could you repeat your question? Because like John, I didn't hear it clearly either. Could you just repeat it?
Yeah, okay, sorry. I was reading that in samsara, like the Buddha had the first vipassana jnana as Sumedha. When he was Sumedha, he could attain jhana, so he had the first vipassana jnana, which I think is a requisite for jhana. And so then, but he couldn't have the second vipassana jnana, because if in that case it would be it would be bound to become enlightened during the sasana of the Buddha he met. So I think my question here is, it's not very important. It's just about the first vipassana jnana.
Why do you say it's a requisite for jhana?
I think I've read it on Tipitaka. Don't ask me where. Maybe I'm wrong. Because it's
Are all
yeah,
those who
it's-
attain jhana and arupa jhana, but without any understanding of dhammas as anatta, impossible to have attained first vipassana jnana in that case?
I'm not sure. Maybe Ajahn can add more. I think I've read it in Tipitaka, but as I said, I might well be wrong. But as we know, it needs a certain level of understanding even to attain jhana. Not without any understanding at all, it's impossible to attain jhana.
Understanding, but the understanding doesn't have to be of dhammas as anatta to attain jhana, mundane jhana.
As I said, I don't want to. I'm not. I think I've read it, but I might well be wrong. Also, I think I remember about Devadatta, reading about Devadatta attaining the first vipassana jnana and obtaining the jhanas. But I don't think it's important anyway. Maybe Ajahn can talk more about on the subject of vipassana jnana and jhana. Or maybe it's not so important.
Are you there, Jan? We can't hear you.
Sorry,
Microphone.
can you repeat, please?
His question was, he has the understanding that in order to attain mundane first jhana, there has to be the realization of the first vipassana jnana. This was his question. He thought he had read this somewhere.
In order to what?
To attain the first jhana, to attain jhana, not the first jhana, to attain any jhana that
Not jhana,
he,
jhana, right?
jhana, not jnana, jhana, mundane jhana.
Yeah. In order to attain mundane jhana, what is jhana?
What's that? It's a different chitta plane. It's a different plane of chitta, different from kamavachara.
Yes, but is there any understanding of what is there? No understanding of the truth of what is there at all. Only I must be there, because no understanding of the truth of that very moment. So jhana is not the path leading to understanding the Ariya Satya, the noble truth. What is there now at all? It's only the idea of seeing the danger of kamavachara, the attachment to that. But there is attachment to jhana, right? Unknown. Because there is I all the time. So even at moment of jhana, who? It's me. But it's kusala, which there cannot be any akusala factors or cetasika arising at that moment, only that. And then after that, no understanding of anything as no one and no thing, only I again and again. So jhana doesn't have to do anything with right understanding of what is now as it is. So there are people in the Buddha's time, there were people in the Buddha's time who gained jhana and some cannot. Some could and some couldn't. But it doesn't matter, because what is better is the understanding of what is there now. Otherwise, it's useless because it's called unknown with ignorance more and more and more. So your question is about jhana and jnana or what?
Yeah, okay. So the first vipassana jnana, now I'm talking about vipassana. It's not needed for jhana. It's completely a different. It's a different. It's a different development. Like samatha bhavana and vipassana bhavana can be. They're different. I understand. Yeah, thanks.
That's why those who had developed jhana before the Buddha's time, or even during the Buddha's time, but no understanding of realities at all, no beginning of the development of satipatthana necessary at all for the development of samatha up to jhana.
Alberto, you mentioned this in the context of the bodhisattva, that you also said that if he had attained the second jhana, a second vipassana jhana, then he would have been a disciple of that Buddha. So I'm thinking that perhaps wherever you read, what's being explained is that he could only have attained at most the first vipassana jhana, and therefore only attain different levels of jhana, and that's what's being pointed out.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, probably it's like that. Yeah, yes, thank you.
I don't think it says that he even attained first vipassana jnana.
I think perhaps what some of the misunderstanding may be is that Sumedha, when he met Dipankara, he was a Janalabhi. He was the highest Janalabhi that possible, and he could have become Arahata, but in inverted commas, he chose not to. I have not read anywhere that he had any of the vipassana jnanas. I've just come across the fact that there was the capability to become Arahata, but as I said before, in inverted commas, he chose not to. And Dipankara said that he would become a Buddha in 4 asankhya's and 100,000 kalpas. So he certainly was capable of Arahata, but and apparently that's the prerequisite for a bodhisattva. You can't decide you're going to become a bodhisattva. You have to receive the when you make that adhitthana, you have to receive that from a fully enlightened Samma Sambuddha, and you have to be a Janalabhi of the highest, and also there is the capability of attaining to Arahata, but as I said, he chose not to. So there might be maybe some confusion there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think another point maybe can be some confusion is about because the Buddha didn't listen to the Bodhisattva when he was Sumedha. He didn't listen to the teaching, to the Dhamma teaching of Dipankara, the Buddha Dipankara, because as you said, Sundara said, he was he had already accumulated enough parami to become enlightened. So he wouldn't, obviously, he would not become a Buddha in the future. And so he didn't listen, and he went. But the Buddha predicted his future Buddhahood, and but in other lifetimes, he did listen to other.
Yeah, exactly. He did.
Buddha.
Yeah, he did listen.
I'm not sure. Actually, it's a question. Is it? Did the Bodhisattva listen to other Buddhas after Dipankara? Because we know there were 24 different.
Yes, yes, certainly. He certainly did. I have never come across he listened to all of them, because I don't think there were conditions for him to meet all of them, but certainly some of them. I think I've heard 4 or 5. I have heard people say he met all of them. I've never read anything saying that he's met all of them, but I've heard he's met at least 4 or 5 of them. And I would just say on the case of Dipankara, when Sumedha as the Bodhisattva then in the very early stages, he may have listened, but because he had made that adhitthana, excuse me, he'd made that adhitthana for to be Samma Sambuddha, there just wouldn't be the conditions for him to become enlightened or probably attain any of the no conditions to attain any level of vipassana jnana. But just those conditions of the adhitthana would have prevented that those levels of jnana from arising for obvious reasons. But he did, my understanding, he did listen to other Buddhas through samsara on his journey to Samma Sambuddha. But obviously he didn't become enlightened, but he accumulated. Part of me during those times of on his journey towards Samma Sambuddha. Yeah,
thank you, Sundar. That's interesting. Yeah, I think
it's a common misunderstanding, the idea that there has to be an attainment of vipassana jnana or development of satipatthana in order to realize jhanas. And it's important one to correct, because people often think it's part of the path or something to be attained before the path, but actually they're just different dhammas to be understood like any other dhammas according to what appears in daily life. And those who attained jhanas before the Buddha, no development of satipatthana at all, no understanding of the truth of realities.
But just one thing came to my mind, that to be attain jhana, you need to be patisandhi with panya.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, you have to be Tehitukka.
So it means that you must have some accumulated understanding of realities. Otherwise, how can you have panya in?
Certainly, you must. You have to be Tehitukka, as you said, to attain to jhana. So you have to have that level of wisdom for that type of attainment. Yeah. And but you've made an interesting point there too, Alberto, because the first 2 people, or the first person the Buddha thought of speaking to was Alara Kalama, and he was, a very high Janlabi, as was Uddaka Ramaputta. So he realized, he thought to himself that those 2 people would understand what he had to say. But as we know, because they'd been born in the Arupa Brahmaloka, they didn't have any ear sense, and so they couldn't benefit from his teachings. They had a very high level of wisdom. There's no question about that, but it wasn't the kind of level of wisdom. It's only, as we know, the level of wisdom of the Samma Sambuddha that can take them to that stage of understanding, even though they had, as you said, a very high level of wisdom that they had developed to attain to the fourth Arupa jhana. Well, actually, yeah, the fourth Arupa jhana.
But wouldn't this high level of understanding, Sundara, have been because of hearing the Dhamma in previous lives and understanding Dhamma in previous lives?
Well, though I don't know all those kind of details, but I know that perhaps we can say they may have heard the Dhamma in previous lives. That's a possibility. I don't think that I think that would be possibly very likely. But apparently, as we know, there are quite a few very wise people, in the case of the Buddhist teachers, for example, but they didn't have the level of panya of the path and fruits. They had levels of very high panya to develop those jhanas. That they must have had those levels of wisdom, which they had been taught by previous teachers of that lineage. But we don't know about previous lives, but I would be inclined to go along with that yes, possibly they had met Buddhas of the past to enable them to develop certain levels of understanding, but there weren't the conditions. Who knows, and of course, if the Buddha, thinking about it now, if the Buddha realized when he thought, underneath the Ajapala tree, after his enlightenment, he thought of those people, no doubt they would have had the accumulations of panya there. So they must have listened to previous Buddhas or enlightened people, but there just wasn't the condition in that life for them to reach the full, reach full bloom, so to speak. Just weren't the conditions, unfortunately.
And Alberto, we have to distinguish between the two different kinds of panya. So the development of samatha, the panya is the panya that sees the danger in sense objects, the danger of life, the kama vachara, cheetahs arising and falling away all the time because there's always clinging to different sense objects and so on. But why do you call that patisandhi panya? Because the patisandhis refer to the development of the path, the development of vipassana.
Not following this here, Sarah. What did you say, patisandhi, referring to the path? I'm not following that at all.
Can't hear you, Sarah.
Sorry, Alberto said that for those who have attained jhana, there must be the highly developed panya, the patisandhi panya, the understanding of the truth, like the cause, results, and so on. But this refers to the development of vipassana. So for those who have attained jhanas, even the highest jhanas, there hasn't been doesn't mean that there's been the development of any satipatthana, any understanding of realities, any development of the understanding of the patisandhis.
I'm thinking about Devadatta. He could attain jhana, and but as we know, he wasn't very wise. He wasn't a wise person. So
no. Yes, he had developed the fourth Arupa jhana. He had developed the Rupa jhana because he could perform iddhi. He was very influential, as you know, with King Ajatasattu, but he hadn't developed, the path and fruits. It is said the Buddha ordained him. The Buddha ordained him to enable him. I'm sure he foresaw what was going to happen. They'd had a long history of strife between them, and but he ordained him out of compassion, so that would be a condition for him. Being a bhikkhu was a condition for him in another life to attain to the paths and fruits. And as we know, he had accumulated a lot of panya, but there just wasn't the conditions there, even though, as you said, he was a Janalabhi. He was a very high Janalabhi, for Arupa jhana because he could perform Iddhi. So he must have attained to the level of Arupa jhana. Don't know if it was the very highest, but it was getting up there. And he, as I said, the Buddha ordained him out of compassion so that it would be conditioned for him later on in samsara to become a Pacceka Buddha, which he will do so after his very unfortunate, we can say, rebirth in very, very low worlds.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, I agree with Sarah that the jhana is not like an indicator of not necessarily an indicator of understanding. So it can be like not necessarily together.
For Devadatta, no understanding of the truths, no vipassana jnana. I misunderstood something you said. I thought you were referring to Patisambhada jnana, Patisambhada panya, not, but you were referring to, of course, they're triple rooted, but that just because there's someone is triple rooted at birth doesn't mean any understanding of realities at all. Anything more you'd like to ask, to mention, Ajahn, because I think we're almost out of time. Anyone else?
Yes, there's one point concerning the 7 moments of jhana. So we heard that the first moments can condition rebirth in the next life, and the last one in the one that the following life, and then the others can condition rebirth in any time. But because the 7 chitta are almost identical, there's the same karma, so the difference is only in terms of strength. So I'm not sure I understand the relevance of saying the first one can be can condition result in one life and the other lives.
I think it's just to do with strength. I believe, Tambak, because the first one, Intl.Dhamma Vednyakama, it's a weaker one, as Ajahn spoke to earlier on. It's weaker, so it can only bring result in this life. And then the other ones, and as you can imagine, like something when it starts, it's not so strong. And then when it gathers momentum from jhanas 2 through to 6, they're very strong, and they can bring results at any time because of their strength. They can bring results at any time during samsara. Any time after the not next life, because that's when or not this life, and the last one, number 7. Can only bring results in the next life, and the other ones can bring results because they're so strong at any time in samsara. So the number 7 is the second weakest one, or second strongest one, or second weakest. Not the very weakest, and so it can only bring results in the subsequent life.
That I got that, but the point that I was asking is about the relevance of that, because in the end they are the same karma.
Well, you can say that too, but just the nature of conditions is, it's just the nature of conditionality. It's to do with strength and the momentum, and as it starts, just tell you that's just the way it is. It works from the weakest one, which will bring results in this life, and then the other ones, or the 7th one, can only bring results in the second life, or the one subsequent to the one we are in now, because of its relative strength to the first one. And then numbers 2 to 6 can, because they are very strong, they can bring results. It's just the nature of them. It's just what's called karma niyama. It's just their nature. They can bring results because that's just the way they are, and that's the way it works. So it just can help us, perhaps. I don't know if Ajahn might add to that.
The other ones are conditioned by a sevana paccaya, but not the first one. So it just comes back to the nature of different conditions. So the asevana paccaya, the repetition conditions the ones after the first one to be stronger, and it just because back to the point was the question was about why the 6 jhavanas were mentioned in the connection of the ayuhana, because it refers to the results of karma in a particular lifetime. So in this lifetime or that particular lifetime. So that was just why it's mentioned in that way. So it's just referring to our Sevana Pachiya and why different chittas are stronger and bring results at different times.
This year, walked 180 miles, 16,000 feet, 47 hours, 18 reviews, 33.
Tob, you might like to turn your mic off a moment. You might want to mute.
So in short, actually any karma can bring the result any moment, any time, and they just differ in terms of strength between different citta in the jhavana process, right? That's what we
yeah. So the results of that can be experienced now, for example, they could be from a past. We don't know. They could be from a past life. They might have been from this life. They might have been from a previous life. But it's always playing catch up in a sense. You know, like those ones we talked about from bringing results in this life, the first jhavana, and then the 2 through to 6 bring the results in the second furthest life from here. And so, but we don't know exactly when they will bring results here.
And does that mean that some karma can bring results different lifetimes, like
sure,
this lifetime and another lifetime?
Yeah, sure, it can certainly, and I suspect too
Are you saying something, Sarah? Because we can't hear you. Still turn your microphone is off.
Sorry, that's the significance of the ayuhana, because it refers to the karma, not just the karma that conditions the patisandhi, but all the karma that are collected at the moment of patisandhi that can bring results in that lifetime. So that's the significance of it in that particular context.
Okay.
Just a final note on this, ayuhana, Sarah. If you've got any information on the way that you've been describing ayuhana, not so much today, but earlier on, I'd like to read it. I'd like to know what connections you're making to those ayuhana, because ayuhana, as I've read it time and time again lately, it's to do with accumulations that and relating to abhisankara, relating to chaitana, and relating to sankhara. So this idea that you've spoken about earlier on, scooping up and bringing them into the next life, I've never come across anywhere.
I haven't ever mentioned scooping up. I've never mentioned that in you.
Well, something like that about bringing them up results in this life. I've never seen it anywhere. And if you
I've never mentioned scooping.
No, I didn't say you did. I said something like that. Bring results in a particular life. They can only, like we talked about Deva Lokas or Brahma Lokas before, but there's nothing I have come across. And if you do come across something like that, please forward it on to me.
If I may, Sundara, I think what Sarah is saying, and I'm happy for this discussion, and you have clarified it, you've helped a lot. It just means that all the karma that can be accumulated, have been accumulated, it's been accumulated and comes with the patisandhi citta. So except for maybe the first one, we were talking about the 7 jhavanas of previous life, that wouldn't be accumulated because they are moksha, right? And so, but the rest would be in this would be accumulated and have the potential of bearing fruit in this life.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can agree to that, but there has been this conflated idea that it's something else other than sankhara or chaitana or kusala and akusala accumulations, and this idea that it can only bring a certain type of results in a certain type of plane. Well, yes, that must be so, because if you're born in the human plane, you can only get results that are commensurate with that plane. you can't get results that you can get in hell world, for example. But that's not to do with ayuhana. That is not to do with ayuhana. That's another concept that's been added on, and it's another layering or another completion that's been made. So it's to do with the accumulated chaitana that can bring results. And there are any number of suttas, or at least a couple of suttas, and Abhidhamma that and Visuddhimagga that points clearly to this territory. And if anybody sees anything else that's said in the Visuddhimagga or in the Sutta Pitaka, please forward it to me. I would be interested, because I always think that the more clarity comes to Dhamma, then it's helpful to tease out these issues. Anyway, look, let's leave it at that for the time being. Look, thank you so much, Tanajan, again for being here with us and for us. I much appreciate it, and I'm sure other people do also. Many thank you.
ดีครับอาจารย์
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะท่านอาจารย์ค่ะขอบคุณมาก
กราบเท้าท่านอาจารย์ค่ะสวัสดีครับอนุโมทนากับคุณเซราคุณจอน
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you everyone. Adumodana, sorry, my mic wasn't on.
See you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And nice to see you all.